Hey friend, Chris here from Logic Pro Rules, the website and channel that helps you get the most you can out of Apple's Logic Pro. Today I want to show you how ChromaGlow, Logic's AI saturation plugin, can be your one-stop shop for vocal compression. So remember, ChromaGlow came out with Logic Pro 11, and ever since it's been awesome. If you've ever felt like that your tracks, your projects were missing a vibe, a depth, that sort of intangible sort of texture, you probably were missing ChromaGlow. So I've been using it ever since its release for vocal mixes. I love it. It's like, just turn the one knob until it sounds good, and it is good. But besides showing you how to use ChromaGlow, if you're someone on an Intel-based machine and you don't have access to this plugin because it does require Apple Silicon, well, I'll show you some other options available to you. So let's dig into it. On screen, I clearly have a vocal performance where I've applied several audio effects to process it. And right in the middle of it all is ChromaGlow. Okay, so first, before we open the plugin, I want you to take a listen to this vocal as it is, with these plugins in place. I will bypass the compressor at the end just because I want this to be a relatively fair comparison. But we're going to take a listen to the vocal with ChromaGlow on, and then we're going to take a listen with ChromaGlow off, and we're going to compare the results. Take a listen.
Well, they're trying hard to put me in my place, and that is why I gotta keep running. The future is mine and it's no disgrace, 'cause in the end the past means nothing.
Okay, so that's with ChromaGlow in this plugin chain, and now I'm going to bypass ChromaGlow. Even with these other plugins in place, take a listen.
Well, they're trying hard to put me in my place, and that is why I gotta keep running. The future is mine and it's no disgrace, 'cause in the end the past means nothing.
That's a pretty big difference, right? I mean, with ChromaGlow in place, the vocals sound much more solid. Things feel stable, and there even is a little bit of like a sheen or a shine to the vocal. Whereas with ChromaGlow disabled, things feel demo-y. They feel rough. It feels like we've got some work to do on the vocals, even with all these other plugins in place. And then if I add ChromaGlow in my compressor, take a listen.
Well, they're trying hard to put me in my place, and that is why I gotta keep running. The future is mine and it's no disgrace, 'cause
Right, so light years ahead of where we started. So I'm going to bypass the compressor for now and pop open ChromaGlow. ChromaGlow is an AI plugin that emulates the sound of hardware, tubes, tape, analog preamps, as well as the sound of hardware compression. For each model, you have two different options for style. In the case of Squeeze, the compression model, we have the option of soft or hard press, which is basically how aggressive of a compression sound do you want to impose on the track that you're working with. And then there's the control in the center, which in this case is named Squeeze. Other modes, it's named Drive. But basically, you just turn the knob till it sounds good. It's that simple. But of course, as you increase the squeeze, your vocal will get louder. So you'll want to reduce the level out control to compensate. So we're not tricked by the fact that the vocals got louder, but instead we want to focus on whether or not ChromaGlow is adding a positive influence on the vocals. So I'm going to set these both back to their original default position, and we're going to take a listen. I'll drive up the squeeze, I'll adjust the level out until it sounds good. Here we go.
well, they're trying hard to put me in my place, and that is why I gotta keep running. The future is mine and it's no disgrace, 'cause in the end the past means nothing. You tell me I'm free, then you tie me down. From my chains I think it's a pity. What did it cost you to wear my crown? You don't like me, why don't you admit it?
All right, so that feels pretty good to me. Hear it again?
Well, they're trying hard to put me in my place, and that is why I gotta keep running. The future is mine and it's no disgrace, 'cause in the end the past means nothing. You tell me I'm free, then you tie me down.
Right, a dramatic improvement. Now, I do still feel like there's a little bit of a dynamic thing going on that I want to tighten up, and that's why I've introduced this other compressor at the end. And I've set the ratio 4:1, the attack pretty quick, 6 milliseconds. And I reduced it just so it's knocking back a few dB, maybe 5 at most. But at that point, I'm happy, man. I love ChromaGlow. It's such a great first compressor to use for your vocal mixes. And, it doesn't have to just be vocals. It could be any type of track. I'm pretty sure the acoustics have ChromaGlow in squeeze mode. But of course, it can be kind of hard to really understand what exactly is going on when you're using compression, especially ChromaGlow, because all we get is this, squiggly line for the lows, the mids, and the highs. That's not very helpful. So let's load an instance of the compressor right after ChromaGlow. But the goal is not to compress. Instead, I'm going to set the ratio 1:1 and the threshold to 0. This way, the compressor is having no influence on the vocal. Instead, I'm going to set the meter here to the graph mode. With this, we're going to watch the difference between ChromaGlow off and on. So let's take a listen and a look on the graph here.
Well, they're trying hard to put me in my place. That is why I gotta keep running. The future is mine and it's no disgrace. 'Cause in the end, the past means nothing. You tell me I'm free, then you tie me down. From my chains, I think it's a pity. What?
So I hope you're picking up on this visual here, but we have moments of the vocals that go as low as -30 dB and as high as above -10. So we're talking about a 10 dB to 20 dB difference between the loudest moments and the quietest moments. Now watch what happens when we introduce ChromaGlow.
Well, they're trying hard to put me in my place, and that is why I gotta keep running. The future is mine and it's no disgrace. 'Cause in the end, the past means nothing.
The vocal is pretty much pinned to -20. Now the value doesn't matter. That's not the point. But the point is that ChromaGlow at this current squeeze, 61%, which may or may not work for your song. It could be, 20%, 10%, 100%, who knows? But at this moment, this feels good to me. And the vocals are stable at this value. There's not these dramatic swings and dynamics. And thus, we have a vocal that sits in the mix a lot better. There are other ways to achieve this with serial compression, with parallel compression, but ChromaGlow is so effortless to get started with, I don't see why anybody wouldn't use it. All right, so that's all well and good, but what if you're on an Intel Mac and you don't have access to this amazing plugin? Well, I want to show you an option that you have that is pretty much just as simple. All right, so I'm going to bypass ChromaGlow here. And in this case, I'm going to load right before the compressor because I want to see the activity. I'm going to load an instance of Logic Pro's pedal board under the amps and pedal section. All right, so I'm going to wager that many of us probably don't venture here unless we play guitar and we're recording guitar. Well, if you go right to the bottom here, we have the squash compressor. I know we could load it as an individual plugin, but let's load it into the pedal board for now. And I'm going to set the attack, in this case, to fast. All right, let's pop open our compressor and take a look and listen to what we're hearing.
Well, they're trying hard to put me in my place, and that is why I gotta keep running. The future is mine and it's no disgrace. 'Cause in the end, the past means nothing.
It appears that I have a relatively tight activity going on for this vocal, but I also feel like I'm missing kind of that shine or sheen that I felt with ChromaGlow. So let's take a listen to ChromaGlow real quick just to get an idea for, the first phrase here.
Well, they're trying hard to put me in my place, and that is why I gotta keep running.
Right, so I'm going to bring pedal board back, and the next plugin I'm going to load is the graphic EQ. And I'm just going to give the top end here a little bit of a lift, at 64K and 32K. All right, so let's take a listen now.
Well, they're trying hard to put me in my place, and that is why I gotta keep running. The future is mine and it's no disgrace. 'Cause in the end, the past means nothing. You tell me I'm free, then you tie me down. From my chains, I think it's a pity. What did it cost you to wear my crown? You don't like me, why don't you admit it? You feel a little down.
Look at that, instant stability with the squash compressor in pedal board. You don't have to get to know all the different controls and knobs of compressor. You know, there's the threshold, ratio, makeup gain, attack, release, all this stuff. And really today's video is for those of us who feel, I don't know, kind of overwhelmed by all these details when it comes to compression, especially when it comes to vocals. Or maybe you're just someone who wants just, a quick once and done solution. And I also want to point out, this is a tangent or a side note, but notice that we were using the graph in the compressor to help us better understand the dynamic swings of the vocal performance and how the compressors were impacting or influencing the sound of them. I just feel like it's important to state that these visual tools of compressor, the spectrum analyzer, channel EQ, the multimeter, all these things that come with Logic Pro, they exist to help you. Even though we should be focusing on what we hear over what we see, oftentimes if you're in a situation where you're not too sure what's going on as you listen, the meter might help you out. It might help you better understand what you're hearing. So that's a whole side tangent, something I feel very strongly about. But there you go. ChromaGlow, one-stop shop for vocals. Yes, I have a couple other plugins. I added a compressor at the end, but it did a lot of heavy lifting. And if you don't have ChromaGlow, well, there's other compressors in Logic Pro that you can implement and use. It just takes looking a little outside the box. So I hope this video was helpful for you, and I'll check you for more later next week. Take care.